All right, so we are here now in Findhorn Ecovillage. We have a Conversation Café which happens every week. And we have a little round where we can go collectively into the challenges that are present in the community or that have been present over time. And yeah, so if you want to start with the challenges, we can do so now.
Okay, my name is Michael. The main challenge that comes to me of what happened in this last period as an ex-trustee of the Findhorn Foundation was the absolutely zero interest on the foundation of coming out from COVID with a positive attitude that would retain the relevance of the Findhorn Foundation to the world. There was a great number of, a great in-depth suggestions that were made about coming out of COVID, which was a restriction, and it was difficult and all that stuff, and none of them got through. In fact, the main one I was involved in, we were given an hour with the focalizer of the management committee. It only lasted 40 minutes, and she basically said, no, we're not doing any of that, go away, and don't interfere. So I just feel that was a real failure of us to be able to get a voice for a positive move out of the difficulties of COVID that was just impossible to get any movement. So that to me was an incredible failure that cost us all a great deal of money, that was wasted with people who are irrelevant to our future, and that was very sad. So if you want a challenge, that's what I think, for me, was the biggest challenge. And I felt personally extremely frustrated by it. Okay. Over and out.
Thank you.
Well, my first thought is that whatever anybody's doing, challenge is a constant element, and so what it's really about is what structures we can create to respond to challenges. I think in the specific example Michael made showed clearly we didn't have a structure that could actually take or ideas. So that's why I guess I feel at different times we've had a very responsive structure, and one there where things were able to, creativity was able to emerge, and at other times we've had less so. And it's not only do these creative things need to be emerged, but then there's also the strength of what can hold them and allow them to grow. So I think it's actually a challenge for all organisations, and to have it in a way that really there are plenty of organisations which can run where they have structures that are very hierarchical, but to have one that really engages everybody and it gives people a voice, but is still organised and effective. That's the challenge for me.
Challenges. My first thought when you mentioned challenges was maintaining things. And the core organization, which was the Findhorn Foundation, actually had a bit of a continuity problem too. It was part of their mission to have people here for shorter periods of time, learn something and go out in the world and do something. And I think our greatest exports have been wonderful. There's a lot of people in the world doing amazing things, somewhat influenced and inspired by their time here. However, that meant that we were kind of we were doing the same loop over and over and over again in terms of the learning curve in order to enable that to happen. And then, as Michael mentioned, the foundation shrunk, and it was a really fearful time. There was huge debt and no income, and it was hard going. And some people were not imaginative at that time. I was equally frustrated, I have to confess. However, I feel like through that, we knew from meetings 5 years before and 10 years, that we needed to reinvent, that we needed to do things differently, that the patterns needed to shift, and we weren't doing it because the patterns and rhythms were so deep. And somehow we needed Brexit, and then we needed COVID, and then we needed fires, all sorts of things to really stop. And now what's happening is that the foundation is going away in its trust format. It has gifted its properties into 3 or 5 other organizations within the community who can be more focused. Because while the foundation was not maintaining itself particularly well, the other, at least 35 organizations at the park, and as Dorothy says, 73 businesses and enterprises around the community who are focused on a particular activity, are doing rather well. And that is something the foundation couldn't do because it was the landlord and the educator and the infrastructure maintenance and the spiritual inspiration and the guru and everything else. And it couldn't do any of it particularly well. So that's shifting. And I feel like where we have a sense of where we're going, we do not know how we're going to get there. But there is a level of trust and consolidation and a bit more coherence now. Watch the space and come back in about 2 years when we've figured out how to get to where we're going. What? Oh, sure.
Fabien. For me, the main challenge, having been here since the 80s, is that at the time there was a lot of commitment and engagement in the community, and there is hardly any nowadays. I can give you an example of the CCC. There are 15 to 20 active people helping other people, and we are an aging community. We need as much help as we can.
Can you say what CCC is, just?
Care Community Circle, looking after people's needs who have health problem, whatever, shopping, whatever. So I feel like there are not any more engagement. Why is that? That's my sense is that we have a lot of new people who have come in the last 5 years, and because the foundation wasn't there, they haven't done experience week or anything, there's something missing there. There's a link that is missing. These people are probably well-intentioned, but they haven't got the training I got, so they don't feel the need to engage. They have a happy life. That's my sense. Maybe it's a judgment, but that's why we have 400 people living here in the park. How many people are engaging?
Hi, my name is Jane, and I don't live in the park. I live in Forest, which is about 5 miles away. And so one of the current challenges that I think is important for the whole community is, what is the community? And how do the people who don't live in the park get involved? Because there have been more and more people moving out and living into the nearby village of Kinross or to somewhere else or Forest. And it's very often, I feel, thought that the community is here, based in the park. But now, and maybe that was true once, definitely was true once, but now that's not the case. So how do we have people involved when they're not actually based here? That is one of the questions that I have, and yeah. That's it.
Yeah, and how would you describe the identity at the moment? Because it sounds like it's an identity crisis then? Is that correct? Do I understand it correctly? Or?
Yeah, I think we're going through adolescence. We don't know who we are. We're discovering who we are.
All right.
Having left behind something that maybe some would think of as an idyllic childhood, we've entered into this period of, oh my God, what's happening? It's all changed. But we haven't yet reached even a beginning of adulthood, I don't think.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Maggie. A few things have come up. One is to do with scale. When I first came here, there was no east winds, no west winds, no north winds. And by the time this development is finished, there'll be another possibly 100 people. And I raised the question at the time about, is this going to weaken the essence of the community? And my sense is that we have moved from being a kind of focused community to a village with more people from outside coming in who aren't necessarily committed to the original essence of living here. I also think that the Findhorn Foundation it was so deeply, ingrained in a lot of people who've been here for a very long time, that it's created a mindset that the parent kind of will look after things. And now that parent isn't there to do it, and we have to do it. And it's quite hard to shift people's mindset to realizing that. With regards to, I think it was what you said, Christopher, there are opportunities for community members to engage. For example, Ecovillage Findhorn Community Benefit Society has an advisory board, and I'm on the advisory board, and I'm sending in proposals nearly every week to the advisory board, and they are really happy and welcome what I'm offering. I'm also on the Caring Community Circle. I'm in their advisory group, and I would like to be doing more there. I'm not quite sure. There's been a big changeover, so I don't think it's functioning as well as it might do, but I'm hoping that I can contribute more to that. And I think that's these are my main points.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Sue. As I listen to everybody speaking, I've been living here for around 10 years, and I'll start by saying what an amazing place to live it is, and a place of such great opportunities, and I love living here. If I speak to what the challenges have been for me as a newcomer coming in, who had never been part of the Findhorn Foundation, although I'd done workshops. When I first arrived for the first year or so, I kind of felt I was on the periphery, not knowing where I might dip my toes in the water to offer some of my skills. And the first time I did that, it took a while to realise I got a little bit burnt by it, because what I experienced, and I would have to say this, was around we sometimes, or things are changing. I've experienced issues around rank and power here, and an unacknowledged sometimes, or an unconscious rank, where this is the way we do things, this is where we've always done things. And if I were, as a newcomer, questioning some of that, I would either feel dismissed or put down. And because of that early experience, I stepped out of what I'd stepped into and stayed on the periphery again for a while, getting my feet in the roots of the land to step back in again.
Since when are you here?
About 10 years.
Okay, and did the rank issue, was it like voiced in some moments, or?
It's part of a culture, often in many hierarchies and organisations, where those who are in positions of power, good power and good leadership, as a humility and to be humble, and it lifts everyone up. But that has been something that has been addressed in many ways. We have workshops and constellations to work with that, but it was hard around maybe governance, or if I felt harmed by somebody, who do I go to? But I want to move on to say, because there are so many positives that come out, but I think divide between those who have money and those who haven't, in terms of housing here. We have an extreme of some people who live in really luxurious big houses, and some people live in caravans. I think that borderline inhabitable. I feel that it's quite difficult, and it's a mantra, why aren't the young people here? I think one of our problems as a community that I see and experience, and I'm one of the older people here, that for nearly 70 years, 65-year-old community, it's gone through all the fabulous, wonderful times of being the place it's been, that people came to over the world, but still in many of the positions of leadership, it's the older people. And I do know that the younger people, many younger people, don't engage in that because it feels I think we could do well to have success. Is it called succession, where the elders step out, giving space for youngers to step in? COVID certainly was a great challenge. And I understand we've already spoken about what some of the foundation experienced, but that kind of, phoenix rising from the ashes, it's taken a while for those of us who live here to start coming out and looking around. And what has become apparent is the problem, some of it's been spoken to, is the maintenance or the lack of maintenance of buildings and roads and trees and the environment, the buildings we love. There's been a lot of neglect, and we're having to start from scratch to try and build some of that and address it. And I think there are competitions sometimes for where we might get money from or how we get donations from. I could go on, but I think I should pass it on. But going back to the rank and power issue and leadership, that's one we're still addressing, and we're having to address some of the trauma and some of the shadow. For us, intentional spiritual community, we do well with the light and the divine. We don't do so well with shadow here, I think. And I really feel that needs addressing continually to be healthy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, my name is Roger, and I have been here for 52 years. I came here as a part of, I thought I was joining a Western Mystery School. And I think there are many people who still think it's a Western Mystery School. Other people think it's an eco-village. Other people think it's a spiritual community. So I think the primary challenge is we still haven't made up our mind who we really are. That's one issue. It comes up repeatedly, especially in crisis moments. Second issue is because we don't know who we are, we don't know who to trust, and therefore we don't know how to establish leadership, and we have real ambivalence about leadership, period. And the upside of that equation, of course, is that we have lots of community response, community interaction, community views, and the net effect is kind of a potpourri, shall we say, of different things, which on the whole is quite delightful, juicy, and engaging. But it is frustrating that we seem to have such difficulty making decisions of consequence. And that's ongoing. That's me.
Thank you very much. How do you feel with time? There would be one more thing that I would love to go into, which is like best possible futures. I think it's good to go in that. But you let me know if you want and if you have the capacity.
I have to go, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, Christopher.
Yeah. No problems. Like
if we had I could give maybe a quick sentence on that.
Yeah. Well.
Or anything.
Mm-hmm. If you want, yeah.
5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody wanted?
Yeah, I can do 5 more minutes.
Yeah, I think it's nice to have a collective dreaming in future. It can be very short. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Though.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Really interesting
of course.
to hear everybody.
Yeah.
Very good.
See ya.
Okay, see you. So if you want, you can, or the one who feels called. Yeah, you want to start?
Collective dreaming for the future.
Yeah. What is the best possible future for Findhorn community?
The best possible future is happening. It's started. It's a continuation. It's the best of what was always here that is now coming. We have an opportunity to learn lessons from the past, and we're growing very much from the grassroots. And if we want to talk about the magic of Findhorn, there is definitely something so beautiful here that is not just in the land or the buildings, it's the community and it's the place. And so it's happening, and I believe it will happen, and I believe we can do it. And I feel it's a bit like the film The Field of Dreams. Build it and they'll come. Alistair McIntosh says something really beautiful that is waves, the wave of energy that got this place built. Waves that energy and they all come to shore. Every wave comes to shore. He says we must wait awake to watch for the next wave coming, because it will come. And that wave is here now. And most of us are on our surfboards, we're surfing it. So, and I really feel that all of us elders will be all going into retirement soon, and there'll be space and a place for families, children and young people to really be at the heart of this village and continue.
Well, our future, my best hope for our future is that we keep on talking to each other, really, sharing what's on our minds and hearts, and moving as we do, and also not moving as we often don't.
We've always had a sort of big aim of service, and over the years we've sort of made that a service to the planet by having big conferences, by getting engaged with things like the Global Ecovillage Network that now has 1,500 members and was started off when we were one of 5 members. So I think we need to see the situation as much larger than just what happens in the park. By all means, foreigners might be and want to get engaged, and if they want to do, that's great. But what we need to do, I think, is shift our focus, or not shift our focus, include in our focus the whole idea of service to the world in a deeply ethical and spiritual way. When you look around at the world of what's going on in Iran and Israel and Lebanon, you realize we're needed.
I'm Moray. I don't think I said that before. And I feel like in its own way, the community has always had a diversity of interests, has always had a diversity of spiritual paths and approaches. It has often been quite dispersed, and the community is a lot bigger than the park. The park is the hub, and it makes a really good sort of demonstration. It's got a lot of coherence just in its physical infrastructures, and to have living machines and windmills and eco houses and all of that. That's an attractor, really, just to get people here to drop in a bit deeper and find out what they're really all about. And it feels like once we had this notion that we were some kind of an oasis in a desert. I mean, there's people come here for refreshment, and it's our mission to keep the place open so that refreshment remains available. And there's lots of ways in which lots of different organizations do that. And that the community is a village, not a community, not a core community, but there is a kind of community of spirit which is international, and reaches out lots of different kinds of networks of light and networks of Global Ecovillage Network. So we have our outreach. And we do need to attend to our inreach in order to be stable enough to continue to offer the outreach. So it feels like it comes and it goes. So my role is more keeping the place grounded as possible with the deep legal details that are required to exist. But out of that comes the capacity to create, innovate, and welcome people of all ages, which we do.
Yeah,
opportunities.
I spoke to you, Lawrence, Hart, about needing to bring in more young people, and that's the main challenge we have now. How can we have young people in the cafe, in the Phoenix, but that's it. And they are not really interested, it seems, in what we're doing. They do their job, they are lovely people. So how can we attract young people, keep them here, find job for them, accommodation, all of that? I have no idea, but I think it would be a good idea to have a group working on that, coming up with creative ideas, because otherwise we're going to die out.
Which is what happens sometimes.
I'm Maggie, and having come from the Findhorn Foundation, which was a top-down structural organisation, we are in transition, moving towards bottom-up, and that's the way the world is said to be moving towards. And I think because we engage and we talk about things and we are open and challenging, and I think we have the capacity here to embrace that, and that it is happening and it will happen more. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, let's send blessings. Let's send blessings to the future of Findhorn.
Blessings to the future of the Findhorn Park Ecovillage community that is not just the place here but ripples out locally and beyond and out to the world. And all are welcome to come and join us here and be part of manifesting what is newly emerging.
Thank you very much.